Hello, Professor Walker. My name is Colin Fields, and I'll be answering the additional questions, specifically question 3, entitled, What Role Does Perception Play in the Movie Crazy Rich Asians? Now, Perception, in my opinion, is the main villain of this movie, but it actually turns out to be the hero at the end, but we'll get there. For now, I'm answering the question by using the pillow method, and since we're focusing on the relationship between Nick and Rachel, ultimately I'll be using these different perspectives to examine their relationship and to see how perspective positively affected it and negatively affected it. So when Rachel found out the complete truth about Nick, his family's prestige, and even about his ex-girlfriend, initially Rachel was mad, and rightly so. Using the first position of the pillow method, she was right, Nick was wrong. And here's why. In her opinion, she should have been told about Nick's family and the prominence that his family had in Singapore. It really could have helped prepare her for the attacks that were coming her way. For example, Nick could have told Rachel more about his mother's perception of American females. Nick's mother, Eleanor Soo-young, who actually lacks a lot of cognitive complexity and empathy, has a different perspective on how females should act.
Pursuing one's passion. How American? Well, your mother is very open-minded, not like here, where parents are obsessed with shaping the life of their children.
This perception created a lot of conflict between Rachel and Eleanor. Eleanor felt Rachel should be one way, but Rachel appeared another way, but we'll get to that later on. The second perspective is that Nick was right and Rachel was wrong. Nick wanted Rachel to love him for him. He didn't want Rachel to be concerned about his family's class or prestige. He even stated, and I quote,
"And yes, my family has money, but I've always thought of it as theirs."
If Nick told Rachel the complete truth, Nick may have thought Rachel would just be chasing him for the money, and she could appear as a, gold digger. Rachel turns out not being even concerned or affected by the money. She doesn't care about the money, but Nick just wanted to take precautions to make sure that he was dating a sincere woman who was interested in him, not his money. And the third perspective is that they were both right and they were both wrong. Rachel was right for wanting to know the truth. I mean, she had a right to know what she was getting into when meeting her mate's family. She even mentioned she didn't care about the attacks from Nick's girlfriend. She didn't care about the attacks that were coming her way and the lies and the rumors. She felt angry that Nick didn't tell her the complete truth. Nick was right because he thought he was doing what was best for the relationship. I feel like they were both right because they had strong emotions for each other. But what made them both wrong is that while they had strong feelings and incentives, they failed to put themselves in the shoes of another person. AKA, they failed to show empathy or a complete sense of empathy for one another. The fourth perspective is that the issue isn't as important as it seems. Whether Rachel knew the complete truth about Nick's family didn't completely matter. Nick's family shouldn't have allowed their cultural perception of a female to cloud their judgment of Rachel. Nick even apologizes at the end and says that he's concerned about her. He doesn't care about his family, his prestige, his family's business. He's concerned about their love.
Marry me. Marry me and we'll start a new life together in New York. Just you and me. I'll leave all of this behind.
The final perspective is that there is truth in all four of these different viewpoints and all these different perspectives. Rachel felt like Nick should have been honest. Nick felt like he was being honest and he was omitting certain information from Rachel to protect the relationship. They both had strong feelings and incentives. They both had sympathy, but they lacked empathy and the cognitive complexity to understand the complete situation. This is something that we've learned throughout this whole semester about communication, and being able to put yourself in the shoes of another person allows you to understand where they're coming from, and it can strengthen the relationship. The relationship should be built on trust and love, and this is hinted in several scenes throughout the movie. It's hinted in the first couple opening scenes where Nick and Rachel have been dating for over a year, and Nick trusts Rachel enough and loves her enough to introduce her to his family. Rachel also learns more about love and trust from her college roommate. I cannot say her name. It does start with a P though, but she sees the love and trust that's evident from among her college roommate and her family. She also learns the dangers of love and trust from Astrid, Nick's cousin. She also sees a little bit about love and trust through Nick's grandmother, and she even learns a little bit about love and trust from Eleanor Soo-young, Nick's mother.
All this doesn't just happen. It's because we know to put family first, instead of chasing one's passion.
And Eleanor's perspective, as mentioned earlier, is that family and tradition will lead to success and happiness. However, this is where I think another theme of perception comes into play.